Hello everyone, my name's Brian, but you can call me the Bugler, and today we're going to be talking about the Sunbreaker Titan subclass, but more specifically, the code of the Siegebreaker skill tree. The Sunbreaker is making his return from Destiny 1, with the same super, Hammer of Soul. This ability allows you to throw flaming hammers at your enemies. First, we're going to start with his new melee ability. The ability is called Mortar Blast, and allows you to strike an enemy in order to create a solar explosion and set nearby enemies on fire. This creates a damage over time effect, and we'll study that further. Up next is Soul Invictus, and this is the bread and butter of the code of the Siegebreaker skill tree. It makes your ability kills restore your health, and grenade and melee ability kills leave sunspots in their wake. This has some great synergies with the next skills. And then we have Sun Warrior. While standing in a sunspot, your solar abilities recharge faster and your super lasts longer. And finally, we have the super modifier Endless Siege. Your hammers create sunspots on impact, and while standing in a sunspot, you throw your hammers faster. It also has a hidden effect where you cast Hammer of Soul and a sunspot forms underneath you, but if you cast Hammer of Soul in the air, a sunspot will not form. We're looking at the melee ability Mortar Blast first. You'll see me attack this enemy with Mortar Blast and we'll count the damage ticks. We do an initial 317 damage plus 97 for the solar explosion, for a total of 414. Then, we do 9 ticks of 12 damage each, for a total of 108 damage. This amounts to about 26% of the total melee damage. In this clip, you'll see the range of the solar explosion, as well as the damage fall-off. The explosion does 117 damage to the yellow barred enemy, and 138 to the red bar right behind it, and 124 to the red bar all the way to the right of the screen. This shows that the damage fall-off is actually pretty minuscule as long as you're in the area of effect. Each enemy would also suffer 9 ticks of burn damage, provided they're not killed beforehand. Up next is Soul Invictus, and this is the most important skill in the Siegebreaker skill tree, and that's because all of the skills revolve around your ability to create sunspots. Because of that, we'll also be talking about Sun Warrior at the same time. Up first is the duration of the sunspots, and these have very interesting properties. First of all, the sunspot will actually last depending on whether or not you're standing in it. When you're not standing in a sunspot, it will last for about 5.5 seconds. But while you are standing in a sunspot, it lasts significantly longer. While we wait for this timer to count down, pay attention to my solar ability down below in the bottom left-hand corner. That's my melee ability, Mortar Blast. Take notice at how fast it's recharging, and that's because of Sun Warrior, which allows my abilities to recharge faster as long as I'm standing in a sunspot. When the sunspot finally fizzles out, about 20 full seconds have passed. So if both of your abilities are on cooldown, this will be more than enough time for them to be replenished completely. Here we're going to take a look at the effects of Sun Warrior and whether or not they stack when you're standing in more than one sunspot. The short answer is, they do not. Let's take a closer look. On the left, you'll see me enjoying a snack inside one sunspot, and on the right, you'll see me taking a knee inside two. If you take a look at my melee ability, you'll notice that the recharge rate is exactly the same in both cases. But that doesn't mean Soul Invictus is without a special property. In fact, it's quite the contrary. If you kill an enemy that causes a solar explosion, such as an exploding shank or a flamethrower Cabal unit, it will actually cause a sunspot to form if you kill a second enemy with that explosion. You'll see that happen here. And not only do sunspots form, my health recharges courtesy of Soul Invictus. That means that killing enemies that cause solar explosions actually count as solar ability kills for the Sunbreaker. But we can take this even further. If you kill an enemy that has a solar shield with a solar weapon, you create a solar explosion. When you're playing as the Sunbreaker Titan, that solar explosion will create sunspots if it kills another enemy, as you see now. This effect does not work with other colored shields, which means it is a solar ability. This effect only occurs on enemies, however. As you'll see here, I destroy a barrel which causes a solar explosion and it kills 3 enemies. None of those enemies create sunspots. Now we're going to study the health regeneration ability of Soul Invictus, and by study, I mean take it to the extreme. In this case, you'll see me create a lot of sunspots with my Hammer of Soul. Each sunspot will actually stack damage on the enemy in front of me. But what's really interesting here is that every single thrall that runs into my sunspot and dies will create another sunspot and recharge my health. All while this is happening, I'm being attacked by exploding thralls and the boss enemy himself. Meanwhile, because of Soul Invictus, I'm never taken under half health. You could consider this a faux invincibility, because as long as I don't take enough damage to kill me in one hit, I can remain alive for an extended period of time. The final skill we'll be talking about is Endless Siege. This skill modifies your super so that you throw hammers faster while inside a sunspot, your hammers create sunspots, and a sunspot forms under your feet when you cast Hammer of Soul. First, we're going to take a look at the increased duration of Hammer of Soul granted to you by a combination of Sun Warrior and Endless Siege. The increase in base duration is given to you by Sun Warrior when standing inside a sunspot, but thanks to the sunspot that forms when you cast Hammer of Soul from Endless Siege, you can just cast your Hammer of Soul and stand there almost like a turret. Keep in mind that the base duration of Hammer of Soul is about 16 seconds. The sunspot fizzles out at around the 20-second mark, which is exactly what we found when we tested the duration of the sunspots by themselves. Here I'm going to test the duration of Hammer of Soul while I'm not standing within a sunspot. I cast Hammer of Soul in the air so a sunspot does not form under me, and I stand on the ground and let the duration go out. This is where I came up with an idea. While I was testing the duration of Hammer of Soul while standing within a sunspot, the sunspot fizzled down at the 20-second mark, which means if I could get another sunspot, maybe I can increase the duration further. But unfortunately, I did not observe this. If I threw a hammer at my feet, the super would actually last less time, and when I used a grenade to create an additional sunspot, I could not measure any tangible difference between with and without. Here is where the real bonus of Endless Siege kicks in. You can see that when you are standing in a sunspot, you throw hammers noticeably faster. When you're not standing in a sunspot, you can throw, at max, 6 hammers in one use. But when inside a sunspot, you can max out at 10 hammers. Alright, that wraps up my Code of the Siegebreaker breakdown. Up next, I'll be talking about the Sunbreaker's Code of the Fireforge skill tree. You can expect that video within the next couple of days. If you liked what I did here, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, make sure to downvote the video and let me know what I can do to improve my videos in the future. That'll be all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have fun with Destiny 2. I'll see you soon, and good luck getting through the exclusion zone.